võib ka küsida. Mul on selline küsimus, jättes praegu need terminoloogilised teemad või selles mõttes mõistelised teemad kõrvale, et kui me räägime kõlaluulest, siis võib-olla Jaani käest ma küsin siis esimesena, et miks sinu jaoks kõlaluule on lahe?
Ma vastan sulle ausalt. Võid?
Muidugi.
Tähendab, kuskil 10 aastat tagasi ma sain aru, et luuletaja, korralik luuletaja ma ei ole. Ja siis kui ma sellest aru sain, siis ma mõtlesin, et ma tegelen sellega, mida ma olen tahtnud. Mis on mind huvitanud, see on seesama häälutus, tekst külaluule. Ja et selles vallas on mul vähemalt Eestis on mul väiksem konkurents kui luule vallas. Ja mul on millegipärast mulle hakkas juba siis, kui ma arvan, et kuskil 10-11, kui ma esimest korda neid kõlaluuletusi, text sound composition neid kuulsin. Ja kohe hakkasid need mulle meeldima. Aga miks? Ma ei tea, ma tõesti ei tea. Ma arvan, et sina ka ei tea, miks sulle mingisugune muusikapala meeldib. Mõnikord sa võib-olla tead, sina oled väga mõistuspärane inimene. Mõnes mõttes. Aga
vahel.
Aga ühesõnaga selles küsimuses oled sa mind mõningalt üllatanud. Et sa minu meelest ürg emotsionaalseid ja seletamatud asju oled sina osanud seletada. Selle koha pealt oled sa mind üllatanud. Nii et, aga mina ei oska seletada mõningaid asju. Ja seda, miks mulle häälutused või kõlaluule algusest, esimesest hetkest olin ma sellesse armunud, nagu ma ei tea, esimesest hetkest ma ühtegi naisesse ei ole armunud olnud. Aga sellesse ma olin kohe algusest peale. Ma ei tea, miks.
Mul on tegelikult Roomet sulle ka küsimus. Kas sa oskad öelda, miks Jaani meeles kõlaluule on lahe?
Sa arvad, et ma pakun välja alternatiivse seletuse?
See on tegelikult ka sulle küsimus, et miks sinu jaoks, ma nimetaks häälemängud. Tegelikult on see päris täpne sõna tegelikult just nimelt Anneliselt. Et see on tegelikult natuke see sama, et miks häälemängud sinu jaoks on lahedad. Sest ma saan aru, et te tegelikult tegelete ju see kõlaluule on häälemäng. Selles mõttes, et võib-olla ühendtermin võiks ka olla häälemängud.
Ma enda puhul seostan seda ikkagi sellise täiesti lapsemeelse just nimelt mängimisega. Mul tuleb varsti raamat välja sarjas Vaba mõtlejad. Ma olen Vaba mõtleja number 8, see on juba trükikojas. Ja seal on seal on väga erinevaid kirjatükke, aga paar tükki neist püüavad selgitada ka seda, et kuidas see häälitsemine või hääle mängimine seostub mu igapäevatööga, milleks on filosoofia õpetamine ja tegemine. Ja seal nende asjade üle mõtiskledes mulle on tundunud, et see on mingi selline hästi üsna või vähemalt algselt selline vahetu rõõm lihtsalt lalisemisest, mida ju beebid teevad. See miks, ilmselt ma olen jäänud sinna faasi kinni. Et mul ikka see pakub nagu lihtsalt lõbu, see väljutamine. Et lihtsalt ma olen seda edasi arendanud ja natuke seda tehnilist poolt järele aidanud, et ma oma häält kiiresti ära ei kaotaks, sest see teema oli täiesti aktuaalne, sest ma pärast doktorikraadi kaitsmist filosoofia valdkonnas ma otsustasin ühe oma sõbraga, et enam seda tagasi hoida ei saa, et nüüd peab hakkama bändi tegema ja me tegime seda ikka ka täielikus lapsemeelses ignorantsuses, ma ütleks, ja ka seda suurema loomerõõmuga. Ja siis ma hakkasin kohati ka nagu konventsionaalsema laulmise vahepeale iseeneslikult sinna kuidagi sisse põimima mingeid häälitsusi. Ma ei tea, kust nad tulid, aga need alguses meenutasid ise äranis palju just nagu lapse lällutamist. Ja siis mõne aja pärast ma sain teada, et et on olemas selline valdkond nagu vokaalimprovisatsioon ja siis ma sain teada, et seda saab õppida ja siis ma sain teada, et neid inimesi, kes sellega tegelevad, on isegi Eestis päris palju või vähemalt, kes on seda mingil määral, mingil ajal teinud või õppinud. Ja lihtsalt see protsess on muutunud teadlikumaks, aga see lällutamise rõõm ei ole õnneks ära kadunud.
No, arvatavasti Roomet on piisavalt alalhoidlik inimene, et tema ei ole oma igapäevatöös, ta ei ole lällutanud eriti palju. Sest kuigi tema kolleegid sellel ajal, kui mina ülikoolis käisin veel hästi ammu, siis olid mõned kolleegid küll, kelle jutt, ma ei tea, seda vähemalt tudengid võtsid kui lällutamist, mitte nad eriti, aga vist jah, see, et õppejõud eriti ei pidanud seda, vaid pidas tõsiseks, väga tõsiseks jutuks. Aga see on nagu lihtsalt, või no ühesõnaga äkki Roomet, sa võiksid millalgi proovida, et kuidas reageerivad sellele sinu tudengid praegu?
Ma olen pikalt ennast tagasi hoidnud, 2 aastakümmet. Aga no vaatame jah. Semester on ees.
Miks ma seda küsisin, oli natukene suunatud, et meil tuli siin Heiki loengust, mis puudutas fetišit, mis puudutas üldse fetiši nagu seda mõistet, nii nagu sellest eurooplased aru said seoses Aafrikaga, nagu nii edasi. Tuli selline Hegeli mõiste nagu unsin. Et ma küsin, kas siin on mingi seos, võib-olla Roomet esimesena sinu käest, kas siin on mingi seos, et see on mingi selle unsinni püüd kehastada või selle kehastumine?
Ma spetsiifiliselt seda kommenteerida ei oska, sest ma ei tunne Hegelit nii hästi. Aga samas ma olen selle mõistega kokku puutunud küll. Ja no äkki see viib tagasi meid selle saate alguse juurde, kus räägiti, et see, mis me teeme mingis mõttes on tada. Ja no tada on ju ka unsin ju, või ei?
Mina ei tea, see oli praegu lihtsalt, kuna
arvan,
minu jaoks tuli ka see mõiste uue, et selles mõttes.
Et ühesõnaga ma mõtlen veel kord, et ma lähen koju ja õpin selle kohta midagi ja siis ma oskan vastata, aga siis on juba liiga hilja. Aga see tundub nagu intuitiivselt usutav, et see on mingisugune unsinni ilmnemiskuju või.
Ja ma saksa keelt ei oska, aga kas unsin ja ursonaat, kas need ei ole kuidagi ühte?
Mõlemad algavad U-ga.
Ei, sa eesti keelde tõlgid, saab vist mõlemad tõlkida ürre.
Ei, unsin on ikkagi mõttetus või sellist. Tähendusetus. See on minu jaoks oluline tegelikult küll, sest et isegi väga oluline, et ma olen nagu oma esinemistes seda zinni ehk siis tähenduslikkust kogu aeg teadlikult vältinud. Kui vähegi võimalik, siis ma ei kasuta ja ei kasutanud ka täna stuudioaeg oli 2 tundi ja ma ei kasutanud ühtegi minu jaoks teadaolevat sõna. Tehes hääli kogu aeg. Ja see on tegelikult täiesti teadlik poliitika.
Ma pean selle nüüd küsima, sest me just eile lahkusime siit ja meil oli muidugi jätkus seminar. Aga just see sama vahe selle tähenduse ja tähenduslikkuse vahel teie jaoks, et kui asjal ei ole ilmselget tähendust, aga tal võib ju olla mingit tähenduslikkus, siis kas sinu jaoks või kellegi kuulaja jaoks, et kas te tunnete siin nagu praegu mingit, et see tähenduslikkus or meaningful or meaning, et
või meaningless
jah, et see ei
ja
ole
meaninglessness. Et kas üldse, kas teie tegevus on tähendusetu?
mul on vastus.
no vasta.
ja ma ei saa sinu eest vastata. Minu jaoks on tähendusetus ideaal, mille poole püüelda, aga see on võimatu. Sest et alati tähendab midagi. Elu eest püüad seda vältida. Ja no tähendus on palju lai, saab muidugi hakata eristama, eks ole. Tähendus on ise juba lai mõiste. Mina ei oska eristada tähendust ja tähenduslikkust, aga või no oskan, aga seda peab hakkama siis määratlema, mis see täpselt on, aga juba ainult üksi tähenduse enda mõiste sisaldab igasuguseid asju. Me saame rääkida lingvistilisest tähendusest või selle puudumisest. Lingvistilise tähenduse puudumine on tuvastatav. Et kui see joru, mis inimese suust tuleb, ei tähenda midagi üheski keeles, eks ole, siis seda lingvistilist tähendust tal ei ole. Samal ajal saab ju rääkida emotsionaalsest tähendusest, emotiivsest tähendusest ja siis saab rääkida sellest, eks ole, mis toimub kuulajate peades. Need assotsiatsioonid, mis inimeste peades tekivad, võivad olla väga konkreetsed või abstraktsed ja igasugused erinevad. Need võivad olla emotsionaalset laadi, aga täiesti nagu kognitiivset laadi reaktsioonid ja laias laastus võib need lugeda ka selle tegevuse tähenduse osaks või selle sisse kuuluvaks ja võib-olla see ongi siis see tähenduslikkus või selles laiemas mõttes. Et ühesõnaga ideaalis ma tahaksin olla täiesti tähendusetu, aga ma arvan, et see ei ole, ma kardan, et see ei ole võimalik.
It's interesting, so in some of those early poems that you were playing back, but they're also kind of teaching the listener the language through repetition and then variation, like a lot of several of them. So there's this kind of building up of like uncovering of some structure, some grammar, some way of doing
and
that's kind of building like a system of meaning ad hoc.
But maybe the meaning is more like tactile almost, because that was, I don't know, it's maybe personal, but I felt you can almost touch the thing and it doesn't yet come to the meaning, on the linguistic meaning, but it's very tactile. It's like I can almost feel my body being taken by these sounds because there is something before that.
Kas sa oled kindel, et siin ei mängi rolli sinu enda elukutse?
Kindlasti mängib. Ja ma just mõtlesin, et kui palju see teie jaoks on füüsiline, et...
Ma ei tea, selles mõttes ma olen vist erinen Roometist kapitaalselt, et mina ei püüdle täieliku tähendusetuse poole. See on, ühesõnaga, ma olen väga konservatiivne inimene ja kuna selles ma olen nõus Roometiga, et seda on võimatu saavutada ja mina, kuna seda on võimatu saavutada, siis ma ei püüdlegi. Aga enda meelest ma tegin midagi sellest sellele püüdlemisele vastupidist. Et selle ma tegin juba ära ja olen nüüd rahul. Et ma tegin, nimelt ma kirjutasin asemantilise romaani, mis ilmus 2015. aastal, seal on vist 150 leheküljel ei ole ühtegi semantilist sõna. Välja arvatud mõned nimed.
Peeter
Olesk või Jakob Tamm või Aleksander Valgobuse Koppel. Ja siis ka, mis on tähendusega, on eessõna ja tagakaane tekst. Ja siis pealkiri Maa ja ilm ja siis no see on ka tegelikult nimi ei ole ka ju tegelikult tähendusega, see autori nimi ka. Aga siis kui mul kunagi on minu käest küsitud, et millega ma tegelen, et mis on selle, mida ma teen, mis on selle eesmärk, siis ma olen ütelnud ikka, et minu eesmärk on otsida keelt enne keelt ja pärast keelt.
Ja nüüd ma saan aru, et see võib, nii palju lühidalt.
Aga see keel enne keelt või pärast keelt, see ei ole ju tähendusetu.
Just.
Vaid see tähendus on kuskil teisel tasandil. Lihtsalt. See on kõik.
Ma tahan hästi lühidalt vastata sellele küsimusele kehalisuse kohta. See on ilmselgelt minu jaoks filosoofiline küsimus. Ja see on ka pihtimuslik vastus. Põhimõtteliselt ma kunagi ammu, kui ma alles hakkasin filosoofiaga tegelema, siis ma olin peaaegu nagu, ma tahtsin peaaegu mõelda, et ma olen vaim. Kelle jaoks keha on lihtsalt mingisugune midagi õhukest, mingi ilming, tajumus. Ja nüüd muidugi vanemaks saades, nüüd ma arvan, et ma olen häälitsev organism. Ja vaim on muutunud selliseks väga õhukeseks. Sekundaarseks või kuidagi emergentseks või õhukeseks tajumuseks kui sedagi. Teema on tegelikult pikk, selles mõttes, et ma olen just viimastel aastatel sattunud tegema koostööd tantsijatega rohkem kui varem ja see on muutnud see on juhtinud tähelepanu sellele või minu tähelepanu on juhitud sellele, mida mu keha teeb sel ajal, kui ma improviseerin häälega. Mul endal oli sellest jumala ükskõik. Kuni selle ajani, kui tantsijad hakkasid mulle ütlema, et kuule vaata seda, pööraks sellele koreograafiale ka tähelepanu, mille peale ma polnud isegi mõelnud. See ei tähenda seda, et ma nüüd tegeleks selle koreograafiaga, ma lihtsalt teadvustan seda rohkem, et mul ka keha on.
Ma loodan, et sa, Roomet, saad aru sellest, et keel pole ainult see, mida me räägime, vaid meie kehakeel on ka keel.
Jah, selle võib-olla ka saab laias laastus selle tähenduse sisse arvata, eks ole, see sama, see, kuidas keha reageerib, see, mis see kõik kaasa toob, selline hääle.
But that's again,
mäng.
Yeah, then we start to come into like what is the definition of a language even, like is the body of language a language or is it some kind of
structures written in the body
structures written into the body that kind of wants to come out and associate with again coming into the meaning like semantic meaning or just meaning of some sort.
But isn't it possible to say that language is a way of communication?
A virus.
Language is a virus, yeah, a way of communication, yeah.
Also, it was curious to note that you could trace the original language of like French and German, and maybe even Japanese. Recitator, the singer or the how do you say recitator. Curious was yesterday when Steve was reading this Caravan, this famous poem. We kind of tried to expect that if there were any Africanisms in the phrases, but you have to remember that Steve learned to read and write in European language, like most Africans learn to in French or English or Portuguese or and it was his how he actually you could trace to the French pronunciation, but maybe he knows also oral languages, 2 or 3 African languages, maybe he would catch that. But it was also I could hear from these poems or auras. You could see songs, the language.
Tuli mõnda praegu idee, aga ma
see üks asi, mis Kurt Schwitters ütles, et kuidas seda uursonaati esitada, on see, et kõik tähed tuleb väga täpselt välja hääldada. aga nagu me teame, erinevates keeltes hääldatakse erinevaid või ühte ja sama tähte erinevat moodi. nii et sellest siis erineb ka näiteks kui Kurt Schwitters või Jaap Blonk või mõni inglane või mõni ameeriklane või kes tahes, kui nemad esitavad uursonaati, siis see on ikka erinev siis.
mul tekkis üks hüpotees seoses kriminaaluurimisega seoses dadaismiga. Tähendab, mul oli siiamaani tunne, et dadaism mõrvati. Aga mulle tundub ikkagi, et dadaism tegelikult suri loomulikku surma. Ja see põhjus oli selles, ühesõnaga ma tahtsingi jõuda sinna, et kas dadaismi üldse saab olla. Sest ühesõnaga, kui dadaism lootis, et ta saab olla tähendusetusele rajatud, aga tähendusetust ei ole olemas, siis ühesõnaga see oli tegelikult loomulik surm seal ei saanudki teisiti minna. Mis te arvate sellest? Ühesõnaga me võime diskuteerida. Et dadaismi, ühesõnaga ma tahtsin kokkuvõttes jõuda sinna, et dadaismi ei ole olemas. Sellisel kujul, nagu nemad seda deklareerisid.
Isn't that a little bit what you were talking about, that the meaninglessness is an ideal that is basically impossible to achieve? Because yesterday there was this kind of early, what was the name of the guy who cut up of a newspaper article, randomly select, pick out the words, put them together, and of course, in some sense you get meaninglessness out of it, but it's still from a corpus of the same language, words from the same language, like with a certain distribution of nouns, of vowels and consonants. Kind of local to that language, to that frame, to the the whole idea of the poem, or like a frame of that kind. So it's completely imbued with some kind of meaning, context, sensitivity, like in whatever it is that you're doing. So if it is if Dada is as an ideal of exploding all meaning and making it then of course not. But if you think of Dada as more of a movement towards or away from meaning, then I think it's totally possible to think of it as that it's not an ideal, but it's a movement, it's a process towards something or away from something.
Belief in something.
But I think they also had this negative strategy of like revealing the actual meaninglessness of various discourses that were aimed to be very meaningful and important, including political, religious and other discourses, and they sort of made this issue like public, that actually it's void of what it's meant to be.
There's nothing there.
Actually bullshit.
I call it bullshit basically.
It's a comment on the actual.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to sort of conclude this discussion, what I understood about Dada. What is the meaning of life in trenches? When you're, the Dada was born around one single thing in 1913, 1923, when it existed 10 years. It was First World War, and the artists were enormously afraid, scared and horrified what happened. And I suppose it ended when they came out from the trenches, and the world was another world after the war. And we can, I guess, the meaninglessness or the Unsinn of the time is the meaning of war. It's a big Unsinn. There's no point.
There's an interesting parallel, I'm thinking, because the Dada linked up to the First World War, and then Second World War you get absurdism. Which
yes.
is kind of a similar
and maybe today we have a war in Europe, and we are all, I guess.
But there's an interesting thing, because Dada has become then appropriated as a propaganda tool.
For what?
Flood the zone with shit, basically. You know,
I don't.
like Dada has been in some sense appropriated as a power tool. You know, flooding the zone with shit, make push out as much meaninglessness as possible, so that you can't orient anymore and find meaning. You know, like this has now become a propaganda tool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
you know, actually, I just realized that there is.
Political propaganda, you know,
Yeah.
coming up with incredible absurd stories that sell well.
Yeah,
And
yes.
yes.
Like many contradictory.
And different versions of the same
Yes, exactly. The
event and so forth.
biggest difference with Russian propaganda is in Soviet times it tried to kind of
Makes sense.
make sense. Yes, but now it tries to hide the truth.
Mm.
Yes.
Try to say if you
It's like
follow
very
these
difficult.
these comments by Russian propagandists, they all they want to distract everything, destroy the truth.
Yeah.
And this might.
But yesterday also when Jaak was reading here this completely cut up poem from the newspaper, then I just really noticed how my brain actually was so active to make the meaning, to connect and see what visuals are coming, what thoughts are coming, and there it succeeded. There were some other poems when it let it go. And so there are two reactions, like one is like, I'm gonna create a new meaning here, and the other was like, okay, I'm gonna just let it pass by. But maybe the reaction to cutting off some old structures, old connections, until you find something new, because the brains want to do that, and then there is a relative peace again till you.
New associations.
Yeah.
But I think it is really interesting, like what would come out of this war now. Like, is it going to be a similar thing, or is it more that because meaninglessness has now become the tool of the oppressor, actually, that the counter movement is actually towards more meaning? And kind of a stripping away of,
Finding something that you can still, but that's
something to latch on. Yeah,
probably it's still not only now, but it's maybe through the time it has been people still want to find what is something that they can rely on, or
what's reliable information now.
the breath or the life or
becomes the-
it's the atom of the knowledge.
I think that today is more time for some techniques or some this kind of ways of thinking, not so much these isms. I don't know. Today I actually very hardly can imagine some isms. Mostly, no, I talk now about music, for example, in not this kind of classical or modern music or this kind. Nobody talk about isms.
Yes, this is
But
exactly.
It is very old-fashioned because these isms are very unclear, very unprecise. But about techniques, what techniques we use. That's very clear.
Maybe there are no any isms in general, but only likkus.
Movement.
Some like this concrete ism, but some points, but not the whole style.
Some toolbox
Yes.
idea. This toolbox idea to use different tools for different goals, but you can't actually tell that okay, this toolbox is this ism or likkus or something. So toolbox thinking.
Ism kui idioom.
But today is very hard to think in isms. I don't know. It is not very popular maybe in art at all.
I'm in visual arts, but I have exactly the same notion. Also, we don't actually talk about modernism is old-fashioned or postmodernism. It's almost vanished in the discourse, and we don't like. Well, of course, modernism produced these series of isms like Dadaism, Surrealism, and so on, and they were sort of in a way competing or consecutive from time and processing. But nowadays you can say it's like we could say that Dadaism, Cubism, Africanism, maybe they were about to say we cannot. Actually, nowadays we think that ism is not exactly what has the art historians have
Absolutely.
stated.
As I have heard, very many people make clear border between so-called Paris surrealism and surrealism just now. They are absolutely different things.
No.
But this
Yes.
this is one thing I'm because I always get a little start questioning when people say that okay, isms are dead, but there are still frameworks, very clear frameworks that people use in order to think. So maybe they don't have big fancy names or something like that. But I feel for me like the one risk is to declare everything is a toolbox, so we can freely pick and choose. When the underlying structures are still guiding us very clearly into choosing certain things, like for example the opera monologue. That is, like there may not be any isms around there, but there's a very kind of a clear inscription into that person through the training, through whatever, like to using those tools instead of not all the tools that are actually available. And the same thing, I think, also like politically. When we go more kind of politically into it as well, that there are actually very distinct value systems running around.
Absolutely. But this toolbox means that okay, it is my toolbox.
Yeah.
So this person is in center. So it is my toolbox what I use, but these tools don't have any more names. It is only tools, neutral tools. But I am, of course, I am some bordered body or some bordered mind, and for me it's, for example, interesting to use some phonemes without any meaning in linguistic way. So that I, for example, as composer, I can compose some piece what is only some combinations of letters or phonemes, and to give this to Roomet and to name this Roomet lessons about philosophy. And Roomet reads this, and it is actually my piece, but still it is working as some kind of very technical result of very technical use of some toolbox.
Yeah.
So, but it is not Dadaism in
Absolutely
this way,
not.
or it is not meaningless.
Something else. Yeah.
Yeah, but well, it's sign of the times appropriation. If you think of young artists, younger than maybe us. Look at architecture. Young architects, they are brilliant in taking historical traces, picking, and they it's not even bad art. It's very good buildings, because they somehow they know more. They know more widely than we have the modernist education, maybe, or I don't know. They you can see it in many arts, picking up the best pieces from all genres, all everything, and making it smart.
Because the whole the guru system is kind of fading out as well, of course.
Yes.
So you're not like locked to like that one person that will give you everything,
And maybe here is also again I go back to my question, maybe for Roomet and for Jaan, maybe to make this kind of voices or to make this kind of sound poetry, it is also very contextual, because when people generally, you are people of words, so you are working in field of words all the time, linguistic words, and I understand very well that in some moment I am absolutely direct from this peaches, for example, because I'm in field of peaches. So I will be out of this toolbox at all. And then of course it is interesting because you still stay in your art word or your scientific word is word of words, but still you use these words for something absolutely other. So you start to make some voices. No, it is very relaxing and it's pleasure. I understand this pleasure very very well actually.
It's pretty much my case. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know Jaan. No, so that maybe it is a little the same, but no, of course you can comment.
I hope that there exist also people who like the same things as I do, and therefore that's the main reason I think not like about 15 years ago that I must think only about other people and do something they like. Now I guess I have to do only things that I like. There exist people who like the same things. And of course my feeling has remained the same, that one of my aims is to do things that others like, but now I have understood that for that it's I must stay myself. I mustn't do what I think only they like, but do what I like. But there are also people who like the same.
Yeah, but still you stay in society of people of this kind of other, like you don't go in some I don't know, some place of babies or place of where only babies are, or some place or where only crazy people are in mental hospital, or to be in this society. So you still you use last year you were talking about this your very nice communication with some guy from Russia or something.
Yes.
So but can you be all that time in this kind of context? So
I don't remember how I spoke to you also that about 12 years ago I made pantomime, and where I didn't speak a word, and first we performed in a kindergarten, several kindergartens, and first they didn't understand what's wrong with me, why don't I speak. If I'm not able to speak at all, and but this misunderstanding lasted only for 30 or 45 seconds, and then okay, then they contacted with me, and they understood the story, and
but you still don't are part of this kinder, in kindergarten. You are outsider still in this company. So you were not a part. You were not one child.
Maybe I was mistaken, but I felt myself the part in
you felt, but also the society,
the audience.
The audience.
For the 45 seconds you were outsider, but then
yes,
yeah,
and then there was no border between us. after 30, 45 seconds. And after that, no bother.
Maybe because children don't define us with
Yes.
my age, my this kind of thing. They
I
are
don't
just
know.
some
I don't
maybe.
know. Why?
Yeah.
But there was one part of people or young people, first class of the school. They didn't contact us up to the end. And therefore we decided not to perform to school children at all. And we performed only for kindergarten. We thought that they were not spoiled yet, and therefore. But it was only when I was younger.
Creating frames.
I don't know.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Thank
you.
For me, just one thing stayed, and I want to touch again with that, of course. But the toolbox tool itself is kind of also a very powerful thing to create you, and then the ism may be replaced by certain power tools or the tools that have more power, or but a tool can be a thought or even this kind of will to create meaninglessness or meaningful things, and or this kind of thought that can start to create.
Actually, but also there's one thing, like if you start talking about in terms of thinking in terms of toolboxes, then of course the next layer of abstraction is technologies. In some sense, like so, you can think of an entire technology that is based around the computer or based around language or based around, which again, of course, shapes the person using the tool. So it's not like necessarily okay, I use tools and like I fix my world here, but the second I take a tool, I become, that changes me as well. It becomes something. I become something different with this hammer. Start looking for
but
nails.
you with awareness about that this is happening with another one again.
Yeah, and I start looking for nails, wherever I can.
Tools, good point of tool is this that it is neutral often. So it is you can use the same tool in very different aesthetical backgrounds, and tool is for me is more precise. So you can use this in not the different goals, but you can orientate in very strictly in some goal. Yeah, why to use this tool?
Yeah. That's actually
Because tool for me is maybe better this kind of constraint.
Yeah, there's a very interesting saying there that the tool is neither good nor bad, but it's certainly not neutral.
So you
a tool is neither good nor bad, but it's not neutral.
With a knife you can cut the sausage or you can kill, but of course in a way with the thing itself you already are different and without the thing. So it's not like a neutral, but it's not you're not maybe necessarily.
There's no necessarily implied value judgment in it, but it's also
not neutral.
Not neutral.
Neutral in this meaning that you can use this in different goals.
Yes.
Knife you can use in very different goals.
Exactly.
So knife itself is neutral. So it start to be goal seeking when we start to use this in some context.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. For example, this häälutamine itself shows that it can be most powerful when I will somebody to tell very strongly and when I start to speak Estonian or start to speak in maybe Russian or German, it is not so poor. But when I start to it's
Powerful.
something dislikes that. Okay, I take some position immediately, and here is no words needed. Yeah.
The emotional meaning is very clear.
Emotional meaning is very clear. So words actually can destroy this emotional meaning. It can be too intellectual or
Yeah.
And I guess like there's this, because I'm thinking like there's also this thing like where you just can't, like the words are like there aren't words to describe the size of feeling, like, it just becomes this kind of like a little weird decoration on top of the emotional meaning, whatever
it is also
You just scream.
you just scream,
For example.
It is only problem of our Western society that we try to divide things in different some fields or different domains. So now maybe it was some theater domain or it was some music domain or something dislike. But when we go back to some history, it was not in this way divided at all. And when we go in prehistory, maybe from this kind of things are started. Because animals make also this kind of voices for to explain, and it is not meaningless at all. It is very meaningful.
It's one of the. It's the way of communication.
Absolutely.
It's actually a philosophical debate by now as well, whether or not the concept of language could be applied to animal communication as well. And generally, it seems that people are becoming more and more liberal. Whereas, back in the 17th century, infamously Descartes claimed that animals have not even feelings, let alone reason, and they are just pure machines. Nowadays, there is so much research has been done on animal communication and animal emotions, animal thinking, ways of thinking, and these communication systems are of course different from human languages. But I have not very precise knowledge about that, but my impression is that it's like increasingly likely that sooner rather than later some of the animals would be ascribed the right to speak, as it were, and because we just need to broaden the concept of language, because their communication systems can be so complex, and it becomes strange if we simply try to. There is a long history behind this. People have always tried to define language in such a way as to exclude animals. But it's very problematic, and it's more and more problematic in the face of the evidence that we have, more and more evidence about animal communication. And it's just, if we broaden the concept of language just a little bit, we can include animals. Or
isn't that true of a lot of definition of thinking?
Yeah.
In the way that we're like trying to define thinking as a way to kind of maintain our special status.
Yeah.
That's,
the spatial part of the background, of course, is the Bible, because there is a clear difference made in Genesis already between the humans versus the land and the animals, which are not autonomous things.
And then have to kind of post hoc that afterwards.
Yeah. But it's that's something I'm actually very, very interested in about this. There is this guy, this is a topic for another program, but there is this pretty famous guy called a philosopher and also jazz musician called David Rothenberg, based in New York. And he has been in Estonia, and I think he's wife or girlfriend is Estonian. That's why. And clarinet is his instrument, and he has published several books by now, where he talks about. Maybe I switched to some different topic now. I'm not sure. I'm getting tired. But anyways, the point is that he has published books on musical communication, interspecies musical communication, because he claims that he is capable of actually improvising with nightingales and other birds, with whales.
Okay.
And even insects.
Oh, wow.
And he has a lot of recordings, and the underlying idea is that animals, in the broad sense, animals often sing, or they do their sounds because it's fun. It's not reducible to practical purposes.
Right.
And so that applies, he thinks, very clearly to many species of birds. And then his idea is that he would like sort of, what's the word? He provokes them by his instrumental musical call, and the birds reply, and then you have this sort of communication, and then he records it, and then he writes philosophy about it. And he does the same thing. He claims he has done the same thing with whales, because I have actually a recording of a CD at home where he claims that, there are guys on a boat, and then they send the signal down to the sea, and then there is also a microphone there, and then he claims that what takes place is a sort of musical communication. I don't know nobody knows what the whales actually think about this, but he claims that he plays his, but for some reason he actually he's pretty melodic. He doesn't need to be. But that's his aesthetic choice he has made, or his preference. He plays pretty melodic, like jazzy way, and then the whale replies or replies, or it's just annoyed. But we don't know. And then there is this sort of communication, but he thinks it's making music with animals.
I am actually sorry.
Go ahead. No, that was all.
Communication word is very good, but for me it is not music.
Yeah.
It is not music what animals make, because music is something fictional.
Yeah, and they don't have the concept. You mean?
Sorry.
They don't have the concept.
Yes.
Of music.
They don't have this fictional property of musicality, and it's very clear, because it is very human thing. So they can communicate, they can imitate, they can make whatever, but it is not music.
But when the human appropriates that and includes it into the definition, like
human can
like any other sound.
Yeah.
I can put this here and to talk. Okay, it's my picture now. But to see through this frame, it's my picture. So I define this.
Like for example, with the whales, does he respond to the whale? Is it like improvisation, the same way he listens to it and then he changes what he gives out?
That's the idea. Yeah.
So
it's communication.
Yeah.
It's communication, but it is not music.
But when he says it's music.
No, from him. But
from his
not,
perspective,
it is not the music for whales. For whales perspective, but it's my point.
How do we know?
Perhaps. Exactly. Maybe they have an analogy.
Okay, but for centuries people used to think that they have no language either. But now people are.
What is music for?
And maybe okay, we could say that. Okay, but maybe they have. But what if they, at least, what if the animals in some cases themselves make some sort of difference between these different contexts when they make noises for a particular practical purpose, mating or whatever, versus when this human idiot comes out with a clarinet and then we do something else, which is the equivalent. It's fun. It's something. It's not music. They lack the concept in our strict sense, but the equivalent of music, which is like doing something extra, doing something for fun, doing something for. Yeah, it's not art. Maybe they don't have that either, but something close enough. I don't know.
I only think this statistically because so that things are very small minority comparing to huge possibilities how things doesn't are. So this possibility that okay, music now as conceptual for this Rothenberg and music for whale are the same. It is so small.
Yeah, that's unlikely.
Possibility to be the same. So that because I still, of course, it is not 100% truth because this whale doesn't speak us what this whale think. But I am coming to do this also from this point that music for me can be at all music for you.
That's my next
so that I can sit and also music when I go in concert and start to sleep or something. My thinking is going in other ways, and some Beethoven symphony is so it stopped to be music.
Yeah.
Beethoven symphony in this moment when my brain is making something other, it stopped to be music. Because music is for me only.
Yeah.
It is not music in general.
Not objectively.
Yeah.
But if we work,
it's my point. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it is now
And
hypothesis.
the music is a
Because
human project, basically.
it's your project. It's your personal
Subjective.
project. Yeah.
But then there is also no difference. But when we still have a general music thing, and we are allowed to have difference in individual perspective, then the whale could also have a very distantly far perspective, but still very the thing fun related
No.
little drop.
We don't know. We don't know. Again, it is
More research needs to be done.
It is statistically, so it is very small possibility.
but is
It can be, but statistically it is.
But I'm still thinking like a little bit in terms of like where does music come from? You know, like in some sense you could also think of music as a precursor to language. That is something like evolutionarily. First come the sound, come the and at some point kind of that forms into words. You know, like this. There's one way of thinking about it also, and where does that evolutionary impulse come from? That comes from this like voice, from pitches, from rhythmical organization, from certain
Responding.
uselessness of the thing as well. Like I think like what you were talking about, that you just do it for fun, or like somehow that it's not necessarily. And I can also easily imagine a situation that we would define as music stuff, like something you go to visit some Stone Age culture somewhere, and they're sitting there collecting stones together and like
For some very practical purpose.
for some very practical purpose, and we call it music, but it's some kind of
Ritual or
it's ritual
or
maybe, or it's
whatever.
something that it's just what's appropriate to do around here at this time of the year when the sun is in this particular position or full moon or whatever. We do this thing, and there's no word for it. It's the same way that I don't know, now we call it Rachvatans, like it's only folk dance, but that was just what they were just having fun and doing mating rituals, like in the forest there, so I think it's there's something about getting trapped in the calling something, like it's not the same because I don't define it as music, and they don't share that definition, but if we can say that okay, they have language different language than we have, like we call it language, then what's
Functions.
yeah, so if you think more kind of in terms of functionality of it, in terms of expression of it, then I don't necessarily see that it should be differently, but I think differently in terms of music, dance, movement, like what unless we restrict the definitions of music and dance, so unless we have a clear definition of music, even. Because I don't know if I have a very clear definition of music.
So are you saying that the having of the concept of music is not a necessary condition for making music?
Exactly.
And you could even give examples of human activities that we have this concept of music do regard as music, whereas they themselves
Don't.
probably didn't.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
still doing the same thing.
Same with visual arts, yes.
Exactly.
or what we call visual arts.
Yeah, but only my comment is that it is very special property. So I can make something here, but when I don't have this define this as some painting, so it is not painting. It is only some activity. I can also play in piano some keys and something, but when I don't give this property that this is music, it is not music. It is some sounds only, and it's all. It can be some pleasure for me and whatever, but it is not music. No, it's my point of view. So maybe it is very strict. So music is.
It's
actually,
pretty strict, yeah.
It is my decision.
Yeah.
And it is very interesting now. I don't know exactly what's happened in Afghanistan, but I third or something time I hear that in Afghanistan Taliban
Prohibited music.
Yeah, prohibited music. But I think here is something very translation problem.
Yeah.
Because it is impossible to prohibit music itself. So it is questioning about something other.
Because the what's in
They
prayer
call-
call is very musical.
Yeah.
Name music.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, they have
And it goes through America to English language.
Yeah.
So, it's
Anders, what is music for you?
what I decide.
But it's true. But I understood this is one component. But is there anything else necessary?
Absolutely, it is only one component.
Oh.
What I decide
Very
now
conceptual,
is,
very conceptual
it
view.
is music.
Mm.
When Roomet speak now something,
He was.
Yeah.
so I start music.
Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
But if he doesn't
now I
speak,
stop.
then it's
No.
still music, but it's silent.
No, silence
That's
is
no
also
problem.
Yeah.
it's very old thing. So
Yeah.
so
Silence
is also
is also a kind of music.
Plus, it doesn't exist, as Cage made clear.
Yeah.
So that it is very strict, but for me it is only logical way to define music.
So the
Musicality is property of object, and I decide is this music or it is not music. So maybe it is a little different in language. Maybe it is not so easy to define it.
It's more a framing, basically. Actually, it's literally a framing.
But could it be that what do you think of communities making similar decisions? For example,
No, this,
situation where you have something. Maybe it's just this can happen actually. You have a society of composers versus you, and you are both regarding at one and the same audible object.
It's a god.
And it doesn't matter, right? Because
it is not
you
right.
say it is a musical object, and they say it is not,
Yeah, it's not.
or the other way around.
But it's very normal in composer
It can happen,
societies.
right?
It's happened
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it is everyday professional discussion what's happening.
But I mean, really, in that fundamental level, that they disagree on whether this is a musical object. Probably, no problem there.
Because it is for me it is only one this logical what can be, because we can read from whatever books that it is music, or we can find nothing.
But then
it's your decision.
But this is interesting. But sorry, go ahead.
But you have to remember that music is the most exact of the arts. You can say in music that you sing wrong or play wrong, or you can do it.
But it is musical. It is not absolutely musical problem.
Yeah, but you know,
it can be physical problem more. When you play wrong pitch, it is problem is in physics, not in music. So it was absolutely great discussion. For example, you know this old lady, one very rich old lady in New York, and she made the concerts in Carnegie Hall every year. And no, his husband was a millionaire or something, and it was full of people. But this lady doesn't can sing at all. And it is recorded also. Glory of the Voice is this kind of no, maybe you can find from YouTube. So that this lady, it is very strange and very fun actually what happened. But all for this Carnegie Hall and for she itself, it was music with absolutely wrong notes.
Yeah, but
Wonderful.
you have been, Andrus, you have been a music teacher. You have taught other people music, and you can say exactly what is wrong and
yeah, but then I compare only with some systems. So music is very systematic.
Let's say in visual arts, teacher cannot say you paint wrong or draw wrong.
Yeah, but now we speak in absolutely different things. So also in visual art, as I know, is some very basic truth. It is some perspective, or your picture is perspectively composed or not. It can be, because in Middle Age it was not perspective, then perspective come and
not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah. It's so technical things. Yeah.
That's old school.
Yeah. But I guess you could say that, you know, like for example, what's now the Norwegian painter who paints in the style of when people were shitting in the forest, you know, okay, like there's this. Of course, you could, in some sense, you could say, like he could say that, okay, his students are painting wrong in relation to that style.
Oh yes.
And with music,
and
music the same thing. Like you could say, you're doing it. Like I mean now,
it's the same
harmony where you have to, you know, like no parallel fifths. You know, like.
I used to do croquis drawing, and I tried to draw wrong. I tried to make my best. And I guess
But you can draw wrong in this way that okay, you maybe don't use righties when you now draw this picture of this room, for example. You can be not write this shadow and light, for example. It is possible. You are technically
yes, but these terms are not.
No, yeah, it is old-fashioned, but still these things exist. Yeah, technique exists still. So maybe it is not popular, but it exists.
Does music need time?
Not because also John Cage, for example, piece 0 minutes 0 seconds.
Oh. Okay.
And it is still musical piece. We have also for example. In history, we know that it exists some first opera, that no scores, nothing. We have only information that this performance was in some moment. So for example, yeah. So that, but we can't. We only have this in some imaginary decision. Yeah, it was. We know it is still music. Yeah. Of course, when you decide so and it's logical.
Or if you read a score.
We don't need time also for music.
No, this Cage example is very good. Cage was very big. This kind of aalamurdaja.
Wave breaker,
wave breaker. So Cage made this kind of in metaphysics of musical objects. He made very big this kind of decisions.
I have a question to Andrus, which is just a kind of very natural question. I think I thought about it a minute ago when I was away. But a very simple question. So, given the position that you have on the nature of music or what makes an object, a musical object, so it seems that at some point in the history, given the history of mankind or human species, that at some point humans invented the concept of music, or started to take certain sounds as music, right? The concept was invented at some point, gradually, right? Well, presumably. And there was a time when the concept wasn't there yet. Conceptually, I mean. So was there music before that or not?
No.
People were conceptually unable to take something as music because the concept wasn't invented as yet. But they at the same time, in their practices, made certain sounds together or alone that we would nowadays take as music. But they were conceptually unable to take it as music.
Yeah. I think so, that actually, because music is very personal, music is my decision. Music born with me and died with me. Other people can only be, okay, I tell that, okay, this is music, or this is music now. Yeah. Yeah, yes, it is music. No, it is not music. What music it is? And it is very reality. I think this reality was in prehistory and also in our time. So it's happened, it is not time dependent, but it is very structural, or systematic. It happened in every moment, in every time in our space here. But
Even though the concept in the strict sense wasn't there, people didn't think about music, did they?
As a concert music.
Yeah, as a concept of music. Genre. Because if we say, it's purely hypothetical, but if we agree that the concept, in the strict sense, the concept of music was invented by humans at some time, but the humans existed before that time and still did some things that we would nowadays regard as music, then it seems to follow that these earlier human beings, for whom the concept in the strict sense wasn't there as yet, if you say they could still take it as music in some sense, then perhaps animals could, who also lack the concept of music in the strict sense, maybe they could also subjectively take it as music in the same or similar way as the pre-conceptual musicians did.
I don't know, because I have with this Africa, I am asked a lot of time from Steve. How you name, but also Steve is very European, so his education is French and Western system and so. But I am hypothesis that actually Africans don't mean this drumming or whatever, singing or this music at all.
Oh wow!
It doesn't exist music in this way. Maybe it is some other conception. Maybe it is some other conceptions. Yeah. But these conceptions and my conceptions are totally different.
But then, there's so many issues. Now I started to think of religion, because the concept of religion, because this has also been claimed. I'm interested in the philosophy of religion, among other things, and it has been claimed that this religion is a Western invention. But what if the same applies to music? If we take it strictly.
Can be.
And then that means that when we apply, it may mean seen from a certain perspective, that if we apply the concept of religion or the concept of music or any, let alone democracy, if we apply this to these other cultures, culture is also a Western invention. Yeah, if we apply any of those concepts to these other tribes, we are imperialists.
We are totally wrong. And
that's the problem.
Yeah, this same was also this concept of fetish. A fetish
Yeah,
is something
yeah.
what represents
Yeah.
something, etc. I also very personally think that it is absolutely wrong when we go in these animistic societies, because some old Estonians also, when I go to forest and there is some stone,
Yeah.
it is real. It is anima itself. It is no fetish. It is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nothing. So it is constructed by some Portuguese or some this kind of some mediator. But it is not in animistic way. When I see ocean is ocean. Ocean is itself voodoo. It is voodoo. It is not some fetish of something. So
Yeah.
so I think this concept of fetish also, as we now construct imperialistic or whatever, but it is wrong
Yeah.
from point of
Doesn't
from
apply
point,
to their perspective at all.
and I think also this drumming or whatever, because this drumming in this voodoo practice, it is actually voodoo itself. When you play this plekete rhythm, it is voodoo itself. It is no fetish. It is not mediator of something.
But then
It's a total
Yeah.
It is my hypothesis.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it is very hard to ask these things because we all the time try to conceptualize, and we start now 6 years. I am dealing with these rhythms, and it is the same. And 6 years we have with Steve the same things, and now I can ask in this way that he understand what I have in my mind.
right.
I try to pose some questions, but I am not very sure till end that he understand actually my point.
But isn't there something about because I'm still wondering, like, if the definition then becomes so strict and tight, then of course we need to be very clear about what is it that we're defining
Of course.
somehow, so that like, so in that sense we could almost say that I define as music only Western art music within a very specific time frame and context, for example, or whatever I feel like is music. But I'm also suspecting, on the other hand, that this that the definition becomes too rigid to capture this definitions and too tight. I think that, from my sense, because there are all these kind of related phenomena, say voodoo, drumming, or music, pre-music, basically, that are I would still define them as a kind of a continuum, like part of a continuum.
Yes,
of
it is continuum, of course.
a human
Yeah,
activity.
because in prehistory maybe it was some direct connection with this anima, with this divinity. It was actually so that I am in trance and I start to I am direct connection with anima. Anima is in me.
Yeah.
So it is not music making at all. It is not.
And that's also why I'm saying that then your way of defining it, I see this very much as framing.
No,
But
but
it becomes like your kind of framing of like, okay, so you have this continuum of phenomena that and then I say like, okay, this for me is music.
But that's also the thing that we need, Andrus, today to go back, time travel into the definition and frame this, and then it's possible to actually put the decision there and say that from your point of view today, this was music. You can do that.
But it is not point of these persons in this prehistory. It's my point.
Exactly.
I don't know nothing about his point.
Exactly.
So I don't know nothing about some dogs, for example. They maybe sing or make some melodies. Melody is some construction of pitches. We only name this that it is some kind of structurized. my dog made this kind of, but it was not music. It was imitation when I start to make also some kind of voice
I had some long dialogues with my dog with a trumpet and.
Yeah, no, of course.
That's the point is done, but the question is, can we actively call something music in different points of time or in the future? Like this moment in 300 years will be my concert actually.
Or like you say, like retroactively, this is now music to what was happening in prehistory.
Like you said, maybe, or somebody has said, maybe in the future, 200 years, only
this will be music.
dogs can make music. Or we believe that.
Yeah.
No, it is not possible. Of course, it is possible when some new kinds are coming out. We don't know new kinds because human is also. It is not evolution is not stopped. In some moment, also new kinds of human come out. So we also don't forgot this that also it is lot of human kinds.
But isn't there also isn't there some power issues at play here as well? Like if I sit there and I say like this is music, this is not. Like okay, so what does that say to someone from another culture or whatever we want to call it? Like okay, so I say that's music, this is not. I sit here, I define, I put on that. If I'm doing that from a position of relative power towards that, that's also quite can be quite problematic.
Why?
Because I'm imposing, I create there, like if I'm above, like saying the whole history of colonialism is about that, like imposing our concepts on the.
Yeah, we are civilized. We have a civil society. They have not. Therefore,
but when you go
can enslave them.
Yeah, but when you go, for example, in this society, they make very strict decisions. Also, they are very strict decisions inside of society and also for outsiders. They are very strict. So I think these two things are not connected. Of course, when you have some kind of stupid power or you have some possibility to change your life, when I take okay, you are not dancer. Finish.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you are cancelled.
No, but
Out. Then of course it is very interesting.
No, but it's just your opinion. Also, as you said, it's just your point of view. It doesn't really mean that it's.
Yes.
No.
But and then it depends. Like,
No,
and then of course it
understand.
very much depends on whose point of view is then becoming defining for the rest of society, and that's where the power relations come into.
Yeah, exactly. It's a money person or.
And I'm thinking that if the, if the kind of very strict definition of music becomes official dogma, then there's also a lot of stuff that could be put into that would then become excluded. So that's my.
Yeah, I understand your point of view,
and I think it would be like somehow because I think in some sense I think you're absolutely correct that music is what I define as being music. That's definitely a very clear thing, and at the same time like add a little asterisk to it that I'm aware of the possible power problematics inherent in this definition towards others. Because if I just sit there and like that's music for me, that's cool. But if I'm sitting in a position of I'm in a funding body, like I'm in the Arts Council, and I decide.
And I decide this is cacophony.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Unsinn.
So for that, to be really, I think it's super important and to be very, very aware of where are you in the hierarchy of. Is this something that you have power to connect?
But Kenneth, I think that it is the biggest problem in Western culture or Western societies that we declare freedom. But generally people are not free because they don't define, for example, what is music. They only speak what newspaper or television or some authority give advice. Because I tell that to be free, so you make decisions, nothing more. And I can make decision now, but in 2 minutes it is not music. This is music now. What's happened outside this sound. But in next moment, okay, it is not music.
Yeah.
For you.
For me, yeah, it is my decision because some others start to.
Yeah. Because this is a very clear. I mean, I absolutely agree with that, and I also think that there are many people around who would never take this to be music, and you can't even convince them.
No, but
you have to be like very educated to take it actually as music.
It was very interesting. I was in Finland in one this apartment with one ontologue. And maybe I told you, but it was a question about this John Cage 000. You know this piece, this score and decided is only that its music peak or duration is 0 minutes 00 seconds.
And which key is it in? Which key?
No key.
No key, nothing more. Yeah, okay. And then this ontologue told me that okay, his sister is some horn player, and he was sitting a lot of concerts of Beethoven symphony, and he doesn't understand nothing. This Cage piece is first piece what he understand.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Great.
He finally understands music.
Yeah, music. This is music. First time he understand.
Somebody finally made the gun.
But sitting in this Beethoven crazy.
Also, what in at least in visual
Did
arts
she
is
tell about it to Cage also? If she told to Cage it, maybe Cage liked it very much. That somebody likes him.
Of course.
yes, I was taking this point in another discussion, and I want to bring it here. If we talk of meaningless or meaning, it might be well possible that somebody buys a piece from Kurt Schwitzer's, paying $12 million. Okay, it might be a small money for him or her, but does it make meaning for her or him? Because this is a fact in art world. It's a big business.
Yeah.
I mean, music is a little contrary because I know that it was some auction or how it is in huudekaupa.
Auction. Yeah.
Auction. Yeah, it was in some and it was also some papers. But these papers was Bach's Brandenburg's concerto, and somebody buy these scores, all 6 original scores in 6 grosch. No, 6 grosch. No, maybe some €1.
Okay.
Because it was paper only.
Yeah. It's what else?
only score of this Brandenburg concertos. Yeah. so not, but yeah. So it is also contrary example.
Okay. Does it define meaning?
What sort of meaning you have?
I don't know. Is Bach concertos now bad? I don't know. After this. Cheap. Yeah, it's cheap.
Cheap as shit.
It's in the public domain anyway, so.
Today, yeah. No, nothing you can have without any cost. No, but score, of course, it's not music. Score is only the.
That's actually what I was wondering about with in regards with 0.00 also the time of a piece of music, because of course if you have a score, time works very differently on a score than in kind of a physical.
But score is outside of time. Score itself is not member of the time.
What is score?
Score, music score.
The
Notation.
Score.
Okay,
Notation.
right.
Yeah. Because I guess you could find a point of view that says that the score is the piece.
Also in
No.
music there is no
no.
fetish of originality so much.
It is only information, mis on infokandja, ma ei tea. It
It's
can
like,
be whatever,
Info
stone.
carrier.
It can be also stone or some wooden.
Human skin.
Well, human skin, or whatever. But it is not music itself.
But you said we agreed that Roomet can be music in a silent mode. So then the object itself, can an object be music when as a wavelength?
When I decide this.
So-
This chair is a
Yeah,
piece of
so
music.
exactly, and because it also has weights and stuff. So
No, maybe it is a little strange,
you
but
know.
when I make
What
this
you can-
decision that okay, my coffee cup is music, why not? No, maybe somebody other tells that okay, you
Have
are
to take consequences.
you are
Yeah.
you are a little crazy,
Yeah.
but
That's a consequence, yeah.
it can be, yeah. No, so that here are all of course some borders because
Exactly.
because this decision maker itself is also part of bigger community and etc. And so it is some, mis on nagu usaldusväärsus või
Reliable?
Trustworthy.
yeah,
Yeah.
reliability or
Reliability.
something. Yeah, when I am professional, for example, in field of music, and then I tell that okay, this chair is music now, please.
But it's
Here,
still your
There is a
choice.
suspicion that the person is
Yeah, no, a little
crazy.
but
Yeah.
It's still your choice if you want to make the frame bigger with the different people, or then you won't say that. Maybe then you add more reasonable things for others as well. But otherwise, it's still your atom. You choose.
Yeah, it's more decision. Yeah, why not?
Then this is about. I think the question is about the boundaries of applying a concept, right? At some point, if you start to apply it to certain objects, then it becomes so strange that others might say that you don't know how to use the concept anymore, use it wrongly, or because it doesn't really apply, even if it applies to silence, even if it applies to the wind, but it's still like kind of wrong to apply it to the chair as such.
But if he has 10 people that he convinced,
Oh yeah, then it's done. Yeah.
When you find some, you can pay for somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Say it
Yeah,
is music.
It is music.
Say that this chair is
It
music.
is some
But it's
Estonian-
really interesting.
It is some Estonian
$10
singer.
million.
Yeah, sorry.
$10 million.
Yeah. Some Estonian singer and his boyfriend was buy all these CDs of this girl, and then it was big news that okay, some thousands and thousands CDs was sold. No, but it was one person. But of course, it is the same as Heikki told that okay, for society, no, this girl start to be singer.
But what then is the like for me, like, because now I start to see that there's a dual role of concept. You know, one role of the concept is for me to kind of make sense of the world. You know, like okay, I frame the world through my concepts and I kind of make sense of it to myself. But the other one is communication. So you know, like that we have languages that we kind of agree more or less what words mean, so that we can talk about them. And that's again when it comes into that we start to come into play again the communal aspect of it, because we're not alone. You know, like it's not like we're, you know, like I think I'm thinking a lot more through you guys now than I'm thinking just sitting by myself as well. So you know, so what's where again, you know, like if my definition of music then comes down to like, okay, this is purely what I define as music, but it still happens through, you know, a whole body of interconnectedness with other people. It's not like it's kind of like just I suddenly out of nowhere I define this now. Oof, this is music.
but at this point he lands that. Next moment you convinced him, so he changed, and it's still his
But I
point
think
of
it goes
view.
deeper than conviction in a sense, because it's like there's a whole kind of a field or a whole, you know, like I mean, you have long education in music. Other people have no education in music. There's a, you know, like being embedded in a discourse or not. So there's all these things that kind of play into why do you then in the end decide like, okay,
In this moment.
what are the kind of underlying forces? Why does this definition now become this emergent property of that huge system that you're a part of, which is not just like me in my solitude.
No, here you speak about intersubjectivities. So that I don't know, exists this thing or not, but in some way maybe it exists, or what are these? No. I am actually thinking about maybe for next year, maybe to make these frames or not to make this event, but I'm actually very interested in this intersubjectivity conception, and also this kind of collectivity. Can collective in real sense be some author or something, or is it truth, or it is some kind of power, some powerful girl or boy makes some decisions, or other only yes, it's music. But
You should invite Joe
but then they go home and or whatever or something. So that what is intersubjectivity? How it comes? It is actually. I understand it is your.
We just did a workshop with real-time composition, and the whole point we did it with a board game format, and also with walking and physical. But it was the first part was not physical. It was just like adding things frame by frame collectively. Who felt the need to add, but then you inhibit also, and it's basically I know I can tell you who to invite if you want. One really nice person.
Portuguese
exactly the same topic, but. Later,
No. But it's very general topic. It's not a philosopher.
Exactly.
Aestheticians, because now it starts. I make decisions. Okay, it is music. You make music from some point. Okay, why not? Or not? Or okay, okay. It is music, but in this exception, this is not music for you. Okay, I correct. Maybe, you are true. So that music is dislike, or music is dislike a little more. No, we make some kind of communication, and then we start in some way to be in the same. I don't know how it happens, but it is actually base of to be society in general. We have different points of view, but. Still, we can be in the same some way.
Yeah, we should actually start.
Next moment defines also a bit before. Anyway, so it was so cool.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.